Hello, everybody. Tate Davis here with another album battle for you. This one is a really hard one for me. Two artists, two very influential artists that you could say changed uh, the popular music landscape during the time that they were popular. One fizzled out after 12 years of being together. The other continued innovating his style of music for in each decade, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, before his death in the early 90s. In one corner, we have Miles Davis, Kinda Blue, from 1959, the best-selling jazz album of all time. And in the other corner, we have the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from 1967. The album that you could say kicked off the summer of love. So let's talk about Miles Davis, because this album came out first. So, Kinda Blue from 1959, the best-selling jazz album of all time. Obviously the personnel: Miles Davis on trumpet, Paul Chambers on bass, Jimmy Cobb on drums, John Coltrane on tenor sax, Bill Evans on piano, and Wynton Kelly on piano as well. And I think I would say Cannonball Adderley on alto saxophone. The lineup of Davis, Chambers, Cobb, Adderley, Evans, and Coltrane only play on three of the five songs. So What, Freddie Freeloader, and Flamenco Sketches. Blue and Green, Cannonball lays out on that tune, and then Wynton Kelly plays on Freddie Freeloader. I'm sorry. The main lineup plays So What, All Blues, and Flamenco Sketches. Wynton Kelly plays piano on Freddie Freeloader, and Cannonball Adderley plays out on Blue and Green. Okay, there we go. So, I think I've already showed this to you, but here's a picture of Miles Davis. It was recorded at Columbia Studio, or Columbia Records, I think like 35th Street Studio or something like that. It was in a converted church, so there's a very nice roomy sound of this album. Bill Evans writes a really cool thing in the liner notes here. I'm not going to read it to you, but he does, I think, mess up. There's a part that says Flamenco Sketches is a 6/8 12 measure blues form that produces its mood, even though through only a few modal changes in Miles Davis' free melodic conception, all blues is a series of 5 scales, each to be played as long as the soloist wishes, and has completed the series. Flip-flop those two. I think there might have been a typo in the liner notes here, but this particular album is a Columbia legacy reissue. I'm not sure how long this came out. I actually got this album at a Target in Hammond, Louisiana, of all places. Kind of weird, but it sounds great, and I thought the remaster sounds really nice. So anyway, let's get on to the actual music, shall we? So, like most Miles Davis albums of this time, the musicians went into the studio with little to no idea of what they were actually going to play, and Miles just conceived it hours before the recording session, and this was his continuation of his modal jazz ideas that he that I think it was his name, George Russell, I think was the name of the piano player that wrote some book about modal scales and whatnot. And Miles Davis was really influenced by that book, and began exploring some ideas on earlier albums like Milestones, but then this is where it came to fruition. So it opens up with So What, with Bill Evans doing, I think, an excerpt of a Claude Debussy piece. Classic Miles Davis. Mr. Paul Chambers on the bass there. Great solos by Miles, Coltrane, and Cannonball. Great drumming by Jimmy Cobb, as always. Freddie Freeloader. Da-da. Nice cross stick from Jimmy Cobb there. Really accenting that on beat 4. Great solos all around. Great piano solo by Wynton Kelly on this one. let's see, Blue and Green closing off side one, a beautiful, beautiful ballad, with some really good mute trumpet work by Miles and some really, really good piano work by Mr. Evans. Turn Over the Vinyl, all blues on side three, or on side two. Feature a nice waltz featuring some great, great solos by everyone. I'm not a big fan of Bill Evans's solo on this. I just don't think he's that good of like a blues soloing over a blues form. It's just trying to inject like modal elements into that form just doesn't really work for me. But it might work for some people. And then Flamenco Sketches, which is a completely improvised piece, kind of led by Bill Evans, featuring some great solos by everybody. So overall, one of my favorite jazz albums of all time. The album that really, really got me serious about my jazz playing. That's still not very good. That's still not very good. But I listened to this album over and over and over again, trying to learn from Mr. Cobb. Jimmy Cobb's one of my favorite jazz drummers of all time. So if you're looking to get started into jazz, I think this is a great place to start. Miles Davis kind of blew. Over on the other side here, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. What's that? Back cover there. Classic stuff. Here's the photograph, the cover photograph featuring, a who's who of figures in popular culture, including Bob Dylan and Marilyn Monroe and Stuart Sutcliffe and a whole host of other people. So obviously the Beatles had just stopped touring the year prior. They put out the Revolver album the year prior as well. None of the songs were able to be played live on that last tour because of their inability to recreate the complex studio recordings on stage. They played their last concert in San Francisco in 1966, and then I think Paul McCartney was on a flight going to Africa or something like that when he heard the stewardess say salt and pepper, and then that introduced the idea of Sgt. Pepper. So it was recorded in Abbey Road Studios. Obviously, Paul McCartney, this guy, on bass, lead vocals, guitars, and keyboards and all such. George Harrison, this guy, on guitars and vocals and various instruments. John Lennon on guitars, vocals, and various instruments. And then Ringo Starr on drums and vocals too. So it was recorded in Abbey Road Studios. The Beatles' last album on Parlophone Records. They would form Apple Records pretty soon. And it opens up with the title track, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Great vocals by Paul McCartney. Classic with a little help from my friends. A great Ringo vocal there. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, inspired by Julian Lennon, showing a picture of a girl that he had a crush on in school. Getting Better, a song that we really needed the past year with the pandemic. Fixing a Hole, one of my favorite songs off of the album, with a great guitar solo. She's Leaving Home, a great dual vocal by John and Paul there. Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite, really, really great British sounding tune. Some great drumming by Ringo on that. Side 2, a tune that took me a little bit of time to get used to, Within You Without You. It's George's only composition on the album. I'm not really a big fan of Indian classical music, and I understand that George was a big fan of it, and I have grown to really appreciate it. It's still my least favorite song on the album, though. When I'm 64, fun Paul McCartney dance hall tune. Lovely Rita. Amazing. Especially the drumming by Ringo. I'm not sure if that's the actual fill, but some of my favorite Ringo drum fills are on Lovely Rita. Good Morning, probably another top 10 or favorite song from this album and a top 10 Beatles song. Great drumming by Ringo on there. Great vocals by John. The Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band reprise, awesome. Ringo just laying it down there, and then A Day in the Life, the magical, song. What more needs to be said about that? That final piano chord, all of that dissonance there as it fades out there. But overall, one of the greatest albums of all time. Maybe not my favorite Beatles album, but top 5 for sure. But when it comes down to it, this is a really, really tough decision for me because I love these albums a lot. But I will just ever so slightly, I still can't pick between the two. But, until now. But, I will say that this is just by a hair. I will give this one to the Beatles. I love this. I love this. I mean, this is a fight down to the last man, and it's this close. But for me, it's really, really tough to beat this. It really is. Any jazz album, if I compared this to another jazz album, this would win for sure. But, I wanted to get a little crazy today with the comparisons, so the Beatles is going to take this one for me. But you know what? If you like this better, that's fine too. The excuse is just to talk about two great albums. So with that being said, thank you guys so much. Leave your picks in the comments below, and we will see you later. Bye-bye.